It's not uncommon to want to return to a PTE AV Studio presentation that's already been made to make changes to it. In fact, users often underestimate the need to do this. The problem that some users may have while trying to do this is retaining the synchronization between the images and the sound for the content that they wish to retain. To do this, we must be able to open the project file for the original presentation we wish to edit, as I've done here, and this is a slideshow I made quite a few years ago. Now this underlines the importance of always creating a backup in zip whenever a presentation has been completed. To be able to make these edits, we need to work in the timeline window. Now the keyboard shortcut to jump between the timeline and the slide list is F6. Now it's often a good idea to link any sound files we've used in our presentation to the images within that presentation. That way, if we have the need to move images along the timeline, the sound file will come along with them. For example, if I click and drag the first slide in my sequence, I can move them all, but the sound file remains where it is, and of course any synchronization would be lost. Ctrl Z is the undo key, and I can reset that. But what I can do is I can link this sound file with the images above. I just need to make sure that if I'm going to link it to an image, it's an image that I want to retain. So I want to lose the first three images in this sequence. So I'm going to go to this one here, select it, go down to the WAV file, right click, and I'm going to link that audio clip to slide 5. Now if I did move slide 5, you can see the sound file moves with it, and of course all of the synchronization would be kept intact. Once again, Ctrl Z just to undo what I've just done. Now I can safely remove the first three images in my sequence, assuming that's what I want to do. If I highlight the first and hit the delete key, you'll notice none of the other images change at all. Let's do the second one and the third one. So we've just removed 3 slides from our sequence, but we've not affected the synchronization of any of the other slides at all. Now remember, we linked this slide to the soundtrack, so if I changed my mind and now decided to delete that slide, when I hit the delete key I lose my soundtrack as well because it's linked to the slide. I can undo that with Ctrl Z. But if you did change your mind, then all you've got to do is select the slide, right click the WAV file and unlink it from slide 2, and then you could relink it to another slide should you need to. But just for now, I'll put it back to that original slide. So all I'd need to do here is to just address the problem I've now got at the front of my slideshow. Now that could be quite simple. I could simply pick up this slide and move it to the left. But of course, I get to a certain point, as you can see, and we start to move the slides in their entirety against the sound. I'll hit Ctrl Z to undo that. So what it means is I've got to drag back the start of this sound file. So I'm going to click at the end, drag it back just a little bit. I'm going to pick up this slide and move it down to that sort of position. So I'm going to assume that I want 2 or 3 seconds of the black starting slide, and then we fade into this one. So all I may want to do then is to just adjust the volume here. So I can click on the volume line in a couple of places and I can drop it down. Resave this with a different project name, and we've just removed those slides and adjusted the front of the sequence. And of course, if we wanted to do exactly the same at the end of the sequence, the procedure is identical. Now, as you can see with the spinning round of the screen, I brought you to the middle of the sequence because there are times when we may want to just remove one particular slide. Let's say this one we want to remove, but we want to keep all of the settings and the synchronization. The way to do that is via the Change Image file. If you can't see this, go into your Preferences and there's a little tick box which will bring it up on the screen. When I click that, I'm offered a selection of all the other slides in my slide sequence. Presumably we'll have another slide that we've not used. Let's say it's this one. I can double click and that slide is put in its place, but we've lost none of the synchronization. The slide duration is exactly the same and any animation would be retained as well. I'll put a link below to this particular presentation. Thanks for watching.